Hi Mark, my name is Bella. My student number is S0441017. Mellody Hobson, colorblind or color brave. I'm a freshman in CUE. So it's 2006. My friend Harold Ford calls me. He's running for U.S. Senate in Tennessee, and he says, Mellody, I desperately need some national press. Do you have any ideas? So I had an idea. I called a friend who was in New York at one of the most successful media companies in the world, and she said, why don't we host an editorial board launch for Harold? You come with him. Harold and I arrived in New York. We are in our best suits. We look like shiny new pennies. And we got to the receptionist and we say, we are here for the lunch. She mentions for us to follow her. We walk through a series of corridors, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in a stock room. At which point she looks at us and she says, Where are your uniforms? Just as this happens, my friend rushed in. The blood drains from her face. There are literally no words, right? And I look at her and I say, now, don't you think we need more than one black person in the U.S. Senate? Now, Harold and I applause. We still laugh about that story, and in many ways, the moment caught me off guard, but deep down inside, I actually wasn't surprised. And I wasn't surprised because of something my mother told me about 30 years before. You see, my mother was faultlessly realistic. I remember one day coming home from a birthday party where I was the only black kid invited, and instead of asking me the normal motherly questions like, do you have fun, or how was the cake, my mother looked at me and she said, how did they treat you? I was 7. I didn't understand. I mean, why would anyone treat me differently? But she knew. She looked at me right in the eye and she said, they will not always treat you well. Now, race is one of those topics in America that makes people extraordinarily uncomfortable. You bring it out at a dinner party or in a workplace environment. It's literally the controversial equivalent of touching the third rail. There's shock, followed by a long silence. And even coming here today, I told some friends and colleagues that I plan to talk about race, and they warned me. They told me, don't do it. There's been huge race in me talking about this topic, and that people might think I'm militant black woman, and I will ruin my career. And I have to tell you, I actually for a moment was a bit of afraid. Then I realized the first step to resolving any problem is to not hide from it. And the first step to any form of action is awareness. And so I decided to actually talk about race. And I decided that if I came here and share with you some of my experiences, that maybe we could all be a little less anxious and a little more bold in our conservations about race. Now, I know there are people out there who say that the election of Barack Obama meant that it was the end of racial discrimination for all eternity, right? But I work in the investment business, and we have a saying, the numbers do not lie. And here's the significant quantifiable racial disparities that cannot be ignored in household wealth, household income, job opportunities, healthcare. One example from corporate America, even though white men make up just 30% of the U.S. population, they hold 70% of all corporate board seats. Of the Fortune 250, there are only 7 CEOs that are minorities, and of the thousands of publicly traded companies today, only 2 are chaired by black women, and you are looking at one of them, the same one who not too long ago, was nearly mistaken for kitchen help. So that is the fact. Now I have this for experiment that I pay with myself when I say, imagine if I walk you into a room and it was of a major corporation like ExxonMobil, and every single person around the ballroom were black. You will think that were weird. But if I walk you into a Fortune 500 company and everyone around the table is a white male, when will it be that we think that weird too? And I know how we got there, applause. I know how we got there, This was institutionalized, at one time legalized discrimination in our country. There's no question about it. But still, as I grapple with this issue, my mother's question hangs in the air for me. How did they treat you? Now, I do not raise this issue to complain or in any way to elicit any kind of sympathy. I have succeeded in my life beyond my wildest expectations, and I have been treated well by people of race more often than I have not. I tell the uniform story because it happened. I cite those statistics around corporate board diversity because they are real. And I stand here today talking about this issue of racial discrimination because I believe it threatens to rob another generation of all the opportunities that of us want for all of our children, no matter what their color or where they come from. And I think it also threatens to hold back business. You see, researchers have coined this term, color blindness, to describe a learned behavior where we pretend that we don't notice race. If we happen to be surrounded by a bunch of people who look like you, it's purely accidental. Now, color blindness, in my view, doesn't mean that there is no racial discrimination and there is fairness. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't ensure it. In my view, color blindness is very dangerous because it means we are ignoring the problem. There was a corporate started that said that instead of avoiding race, the really smart corporations actually deal with it head on. We actually recognize that embracing diversity means recognizing all race, including the majority one. And I will be the first one to tell you the subject matter can be hard, awkward, uncomfortable, but that's kind of the point. In the spite of the daunting racial stereotypes, the one that black person doesn't like to swing, I'm going to tell you how much I love to swing. I love to swing so much that as an adult, I swing with a coach. And one day, my coach had me do a drill where I had to swing to one end of a 25-meter pole without taking a breath. And every single time I failed, I had to start over, and I failed a lot. Beyond the end, I got it. But when I got out of the pool, I was exasperated and tired and annoyed. And I say, why are we doing breath holding exercise? And my coach looked at me, and he said, Mellody, that was not a breath holding exercise. That drill was to make you comfortable doing uncomfortable, because that's how most of us spend our days. If we can learn to deal with our discomfort and just relax into it, we'll have a better life. So I think it's time for us to be comfortable with the uncomfortable conversation about race. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, male, female, all of us. If we truly believe in equal rights and equal opportunity in America, I think we have to have real conversations about this issue. We cannot afford to be colorblind. We have to be color brave. We have to be willing, as teachers and parents and entrepreneurs and scientists, we have to be willing to have proactive conversations about race with honesty and understanding and courage, not because it is right to do, but because it's a smart thing to do, because our business and our product and our science, our research, all of that will be better with greater diversity. Now, my favorite example of color bravely is a guy named John Skipper. He runs ESPN. He's a North Carolina native, quintessential Northern gentleman, white. He joined ESPN, which already had a culture of inclusion and diversity, but he took it up a notch. He demanded that every position have a diverse slate of candidates. Now he said the senior people in the beginning Bristol, and they would come to him and say, "Do you want me to hire the minority, or do you want me to hire the best person for the job?" And Skipper said his answers were always the same, yes. And by saying yes to diversity, I honestly believe that ESPN is the most valuable cable factionist in the world, and I think that's a part of the secret sauce. Now, I can tell you, in my own industry, at Aerial Investment, we actually view our diversity as a competitive advantage, and that advantage can extend way beyond business. There are guys named Scott Page at the University of Michigan, and he's the first person to develop a mathematical calculation for diversity. He said, "If you are trying to solve the real hard problem, that you should have a diverse group of people, including those with diverse intelligence." The example that he gives is a smallpox epidemic. When it was ravaging Europe, they brought together all these scientists, and they were swamped. And the beginning of the cure to the disease came from the most unlikely source, a dairy farmer who noticed that the milkmaids were not getting smallpox. And the smallpox vaccinate is beyond base because of that dairy farmer. Now, I'm sure you are sitting here and you are saying, "I don't run a cable company. I don't run an investment firm. I'm not a dairy farmer. What can I do?" And I'm telling you, you can be color brave. If you're part of a hiring process or an admissions process, you can be color brave. If you are trying to solve a real hard problem, you can speak out and be color brave. Now I know people will say, "But that doesn't add up to a lot." I'm actually asking you to do something real simple. Observe your environment, at work, at school, at home. I'm asking you to look at the people around you purposefully and intentionally. Invite people into your life who don't look like you, who don't think like you, don't act like you, don't come from where you come from, and you might find that they will all challenge your assumptions and make you grow as a person. You might get powerful new insight from these individuals, or like my husband, who happens to be white, you might learn that black people, men, women, children will use body lotion every single day. Now, I also think that this is very important so that the next generation really understands that this progress will help them, because they are expecting us to create role models. Now, I tell you, my mother, she was ruthlessly realistic. She was an unbelievable role model. She was the kind of person who got to be the way she was because she was a single mom with 6 kids in Chicago. She was in the real estate business, where she worked extraordinarily hard, but oftentimes and a hard time making ends meet. And I mean, sometimes we got our phone disconnect, or our lights turned off, or we got evicted. When we got evicted, sometimes we live in these small apartments those she wants, sometimes in only 1 or 2 rooms because we were not complete. And we would heat our bath water on hot plate. but she never gave up hope, ever, and she never allowed us to give up hope either. The brutal proclamation that she had. I was 4 and she told me, "Mommy is Santa," left her. She was the brutal proclamation. She taught me so many lessons. But the most important lesson was that every single day she told me, "Mellody, you can be anything." And because of those words, I would wake up at the crack of dawn. And because of those words, I would love school more than anything. And because of those words, I was on a bus going to school. I dreamed that biggest dream. And it's because of those words, I stand here right now full of passion, asking you to be brave for the kids who are dreaming those dreams today. Applause. You see, I want them to look at a CEO on television and say, "I can be like her," or "He looks like me." And I want them to know that anything is possible, that they can achieve the highest level that they ever imagined, and they can well be welcome in any corporate boardroom, or they can lead any company. You see, this idea of being the land of the free and of the home of the brave is woven into the fabric of America. When we have a challenge, we take it head on. We don't stray away from it. We take a stand. We show courage. So right now, what I'm asking you to do, I'm asking you to show a courage. I'm asking you to be bold. As business leaders, I'm asking you not to leave anything on the table. As citizens, I'm asking you not to leave any children behind. I'm asking you not to be color blind, but to be color brave, so that every kid knows that their future matters and their dreams are possible. Thank you. Applause. Thank you. Thanks. Applause. It's all about my recording. Thank you.